Welcome to the Operate Podcast, where we give you a behind-the-scenes look at company building from the perspective of the builders themselves. This is how we operate.
Welcome to the Operate Podcast. I'm Kerry Ransom. Today's episode is sponsored by Hunt Club, a new category of search firm that leverages the power of relationships and referrals to find you the best talent for your company. Their technology transforms thousands of subject matter experts into the world's most powerful talent network, and they've got over 10,000 trusted industry leaders that refer top talent and their network nationwide to exciting positions that you might have. If you want more info, reach out to me, or you can go to Hunt Club and tell them that I sent you. I'm super excited to have Tommy Tallarico with me on the show today. But before we get to hear from Tommy, let me tell you a little bit about him. He is currently the CEO and president of Intellivision Entertainment. And that's a name that many of you may recall from a prior era. 40 years ago, it was a household name as really one of the pioneers of the video game industry. Tommy and his team have built on that legacy, and they are bringing it back in a simple, affordable, family-focused game and entertainment package. We're definitely going to talk a lot about that today. He also has over 30 years experience in the gaming industry in virtually every imaginable role. And as a lifelong entrepreneur, I can totally relate. He's been a designer, he's been a producer, been a writer, he's even been the head of audio, video, and a number of other roles as well. He's an accomplished musician, and he even holds some Guinness Book of World Records. And I didn't get to ask him about those before the show, so I want to hear a little bit about that as well. Tommy, super happy and excited to have you with me today on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Boy, I sound busy, all that stuff you're saying. Jeez,
absolutely. I am certain that you are.
Oh my gosh, I started to feel a little nervous there. I'm like, geez, I got to go. No.
Well, thanks for carving out a little time. So
yeah.
I gave a quick introduction to Intellivision in this current form, but I'd love to hear it in your words. Walk me through how you're really bringing this iconic brand back.
Yeah, well, Intellivision was the brand that I grew up with.
Same here.
Yeah. So, playing skiing with my mom or Major League Baseball, you're out with my dad, and all the great hockey with my brother. I mean, there were so many great memories. And when I think of Intellivision, I think of my mom, my dad, my brother, my friends coming over, playing video games together. It was an in-person experience that I still carry with me, those memories with me to this day,
100%.
And being in the industry for 32 years now and working on, some of the biggest selling video game franchises of all time, you see that, especially over the last 10 years, the video game industry has kind of, it's gone in a direction that's kind of taken us away from the roots of video gaming. And what I mean by that is, you look at our industry is $160 billion a year, and we've seen double-digit growth every year for the last 30 years. Add in a worldwide pandemic, and we actually went up 20%. So talk about a bull market, right? And 160 billion, that's bigger than the movie and music industry combined. Mm-hmm. And when you think about where's that money distributed, okay, you take a look at the numbers and you'll see that 55% of it is mobile gaming, just in mobile gaming. 25% of it is in the home video game console market, which is Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. And the other 20% of it is PC gaming, right? So clearly, casual games, simple games drives the market over the last 10 years. But in the home consoles, you've kind of seen them, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch, you kind of see them abandon those kind of fun, easy, simple, or cooperative type games. See, what happened in the late 90s when the internet kind of started sneaking into our industry. Multiplayer gaming now meant a kid in a dark room with his headphones on, right? Mm-hmm. And we think about technology in the 21st century in the family environment, and people easily say, oh, you know, technology brings us all closer together, doesn't it? You know, me and you are talking on video right now, and you can say hi to your friend on Facebook that you haven't seen since high school. And, you know, but the reality is that inside the family household, and how many of you listening to my voice now maybe have this happen on a daily basis? You know, it's a family of four, let's say, and it's after dinner, and your wife's, you know, she's on Angry Birds or Instagram, and then you're checking the stocks and your news on your device, and then the young son might be playing Fortnite or Roblox or Minecraft, and the teenage girl's on TikTok, or, you know, and it just goes on. And so it's like we're in a room together, but everybody, they're not spending real quality time together like we used to when we were growing up, you know, going outside and playing. You know, we had a stick and we had to imagine that it was a lightsaber, right? You know, and so and all these kinds of things, you know, so being balanced, you know, I'm probably the only CEO of a video game company who will tell you, and who will tell kids and parents, look, your kids shouldn't play video games all the time, you know, reading books, getting outside and play, having interactions with other people and children's and other activities. And, you know, that's more important than playing video games. And so along those lines, what I saw is that the game industry today, it's very isolated, right? Most games are single player, and the ones that aren't are online. And so again, kid in a room playing, they've also become so complicated, right? I mean, I used to be able to play my Intellivision, probably like you did, with your mom and dad, right? Easy to pick up and play this and that. Now, like, I can't play games with my mom and dad anymore. And even my wife, I hand them a PlayStation controller, which I personally love. I don't want to seem like I'm putting down the other companies. I'm not. You know, but I hand my dad a PlayStation 4 controller, and it's a non-starter, zero starter.
Or even me. I mean, even me with my kids, like, they get mad at me when I'm trying to play a game.
Right. Yeah. Dad, you dummy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're pointing down. How come you're running and pointing at the ground or up in the air? Go straight. Yeah. And because you dual analog sticks and 4 shoulder buttons and 4 face buttons, but then you can also push down those analog sticks. And then you have this button and that button. I mean, it's crazy, right? So the home systems, and they're expensive, right? So what if you wanted to play a PlayStation 5 game, let's say, with 4 people? How much would that cost you to do? Well, if you can even find a PlayStation 5, I mean, they're, you know, $400 or $500, but you really, they're $1,200 on eBay right now. But you know, then you'd have to buy 3 more controllers, right? So there's another, you know, $250. The controllers are, you know, $60, $70, $80. There's a Microsoft Xbox controller, by the way, that's $179, you know, just for one controller. The games are $70. This new generation of games are all 70 plus. Plus, they want to sell you more. After you buy the $70 game or the $80 or the $100 special edition, it doesn't end there. $20 more will get you this vehicle, and $30 more gets you these weapons and outfits and these things, you know, so there's all this downloadable content. And then there's in-app purchases as well. There's these things called loot boxes, which some states are actually, you know, getting rid of because it's kind of like almost a legalized form of gambling where, hey, pay us $10 and maybe you'll get this cool weapon, right? All of the games, I don't want to say all of the games, that's not fair, but a majority of these games on these systems as well are violent. It's adult content, it's blood, it's gore, it's sexual content, it's bad language, you know, so all of these things, that's what the home video game industry has become. And then you can start to understand and say, oh, wow, now maybe I understand why mobile gaming is so popular, because they're simple, they're easy. You don't have all these crazy controllers, you don't have, but what's the biggest problem with mobile? it's isolary, right? It's you staring at a monitor. You know, the number one concern of young parents these days in the 21st century is that they give their kids too much alone screen time, right? You mentioned you have teenagers. They were kind of the first generation to grow up on iPads and mobile devices, and it might be a challenge, you know.
Well, we're not. I don't think we know long term what the effects of that
right?
are actually going to be.
I agree. And so, and then again, you know, so not only is mobile that, but there's also zero curation. You know, there's about 1 million new games that come out every year across iOS and Android. So you know, there's a lot of poor quality, and let's be honest, it is a money suck. You know, there's constantly, if you don't get your email so they can market to you, then you're going to get a 30-second ad every 3 minutes. But really, they want your credit card, you know, and they're literally designing games around how can we suck as much money out of people as possible. So that's kind of where we're at in the video game industry right now. And it's the exact opposite of what it used to be when guys like me were growing up and loving games in the arcades in the late 70s, early 80s, and playing our Intellivisions with our family and friends. So what's Intellivision doing? Like you quickly mentioned, our 4 core tenets are simple, affordable, family, and entertainment. And those 4 words spell out the word safe. So here we go. We don't allow any bad language, blood, gore, violence, sexual content, anything. All of our games are in the rating system that's called rated E for everyone, or E10. So 10 and below, right? So consider us like the Disneyland of video game consoles. So everything is that. We don't allow in-app purchases. We don't allow loot boxes. We don't allow downloadable content. And are you ready for this? All of our games, not only do we not allow any of that stuff, but everything is $10 or less. It's the first video game system, Carrie, that's come with 2 video game controllers. You say, wait a second, hold on. No, that's true. The last video game console that came standard with 2 controllers was the Super Nintendo in 1990.
Really?
So that tells you
amazing.
That tells you all you need to know about where the industry has gone, right? But not only does it come with 2 very simple to use controllers, which by the way have a color capacitive touchscreen, wireless contact charging, a gyroscope and an accelerometer for motion controls, rumble feedback, LED lighting, speaker and a microphone to use. And so they're really, really, you know, incredible pieces of technology, and a very simple disc that you can just put your finger, anyone can, you know, pick up and play. And that's the basis of all of our games that were designed, is that anyone, no matter what your age, no matter what your gender, no matter what your video game skill level is, anyone can pick up and play. And the great thing is that you could pick up and play and you have just as much chance of beating your hardcore gaming teenager than you do. You can have bragging rights on him, right? Yep. And your wife and your parents and everybody. And so our go-to-market strategy is not the 200 million hardcore gamers that are currently Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, and PC, right? That's 200 million. Let those 4 companies, you know, let those 4 fight over those 200 million. Now, of course, we're going to get some of those people as well, but that's not who we're marketing and targeting. You know who our target audience is? The 3.1 billion people that play video games on this every single day because they're simple, they're easy and fun. So all of our games are cooperative. They have single players modes as well, but every game has, we call it couch co-op, cooperative. You can play with each other or against each other. And we don't have online gaming either, because a lot of times parents are concerned about their 7-year-old online it's very toxic sometimes, online gaming, and they're playing Roblox, and all of a sudden they learn a couple of new bad words, or who knows what's going on, when they're in the headphones. Virtual reality now takes you even more outside of that human contact. Let's put a goggle over your eyes and your ears and immerse you into this amazing world. And again, I'm not against any of that stuff. I'm just saying that in regards to families getting together and playing games, just like we all used to with our parents, we'd play board games and we'd do puzzles and we'd play video games some nights and this and that, getting a younger person to even play a card game these days, because they're so immersed in the technology, is becoming harder and harder to do. Now, COVID saw a lot of that come back a little bit because they were almost forced to, right?
Yes.
And that's what Intellivision, the new machine is called Amico. That's the Italian word for friend. And that's what we're all about, is that, simple, affordable family entertainment. And we're really excited about it. We have already have 20. Yeah, I'm sorry. I get passionate when I start. I'm 100% Italian, so I'll use my hands a lot and go crazy. We have 25 million already in purchase and pre-orders. We're in Walmart, GameStop, Best Buy, Amazon Prime, doing a big deal with them. And that's in the US and Canada. In Europe, we're in Media Market, Saturn, and Argos, which are the three biggest electronics.
So the console is available now?
No.
Okay,
sorry.
so
it's available for pre-order.
Yeah. And
it's coming out this fall, 10/10,
okay.
2021.
Okay.
And we have all the greatest licenses, from Sesame Street to Major League Baseball, Care Bears, and Mattel Hot Wheels. And I'll give you another example of video game industry. How many Sesame Street, again, our generation, right, started 50 years ago. Sesame Street's the #1 children's edutainment over the last 50 years, hands down. How many video games, Sesame Street video games, do you think there are for the home consoles right now? Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo.
One.
I'll save you the Google. Zero. Right? So we're the only home video game console that has Sesame Street content. We have sports and recreation. Remember Wii Sports? Remember Wii Bowling?
Absolutely.
Right? That was 15 years ago. My mom bought a Wii. That was the third biggest selling video game console of all time when it came out. 102 million units sold, generated 50 billion in revenue for Nintendo. And my mom could just do this, and she could bowl, she could get it. We have all those same sensibilities. We even have the American Cornhole League is signed up. Awesome. So, and that's one of our pack-in games. Our system comes with 6 games, full games. It comes with 2 controllers, and you can download our free app and hook up to 8 mobile devices to the system as well for free. And all of this, games $9.99 or less, blah, blah, blah. And all of this for the same exact price as the Wii was 15 years ago. And that only had 1 controller and came with 1 demo, the bowling and the sports. So, our retailers are excited. Our manufacturing distributors are excited. We got all the top licenses. And of course, I built an amazing team. Our core executive team has over 600 years of video game experience just in the video game industry, just on the top. So we have over 50 games in development right now with some of the top game developers in the world. So we've raised over $15 million. And we got a couple million more to go. And our headquarters is based right here in Orange County. That's where all of the, it was created and designed, originally all of our units are built here. Now, manufacturing, unfortunately, that's out of our control, right? When you talk about electronics, a lot of the stuff's made over there in China, unfortunately. But I always say, a very wealthy private business owner here in Orange County said, hey, if I were to give you $75 million, what would you do with it? And I said, I'd build a plant and build everything here. And he goes, right answer. I didn't get the 75 million, but it was a good answer anyway. But So that's where we're at, and we're so proud to be a part of Orange County. You know, I've been here 33 years, 32 years, and I grew up in the East Coast in Massachusetts for 21 years, and then been here 32 years. I'm 53 now. And, you know, there's so many talented people. And when people think of Southern California or California in general in the tech industry, they think of Hollywood and the entertainment industry and all that, or they think of Silicon Valley, right?
Okay.
But the reality is, boy, we don't get enough credit down here in Orange County for the tech and the you know, everything from, you know, UC Irvine to, you know, all of the incredible talent that's here in Orange County that doesn't get enough praise, you know. So we love it here.
Yeah, I agree. There's a tremendous just bench of it all around. So tons of questions, Tommy.
Sure. I'll try to make the answers less than 10 minutes like that last one. So I'll do a quick fire.
Great jumping off. I mean, I think it's a great orientation to your background, your perspective, you know, where you are with Intellivision and Amico with the launch. So first kind of follow up. You know, I grew up, I think I told you, my first gaming console was Intellivision.
Yeah.
It's got a soft spot in my heart. I have great fond memories of playing it with my family, with my friends.
These are all the games here.
Yeah, so I love it. But I think, you know, it's been fascinating as a parent to try to introduce my kids to some of the movies and music and shows and things. And in many cases, they've said, Dad, this just isn't very good, right?
That's right.
So how are you, and who are you focused on to capture the interest? Because the challenge I think you potentially have, obviously, is if my kids don't love it, they're not pulling me into it, or I'm going to have a hard time pulling them into it. Like how do you bridge some of that multi-generational divide?
Yeah. So, you know, we've done a lot of market research and focus group testing. And so what we find, if you look at the video game industry as a whole, I'll give you kind of how it works in regards to age groups and demographics. So when your kids are 7 or 8 years old, they get on Roblox and Minecraft. By the time they're 10 and 11, they'll be asking for a Nintendo Switch. When they're 12 and 13, they're going to get into Fortnite. When they're teenagers, they're going to want a PlayStation or an Xbox. And then when they hit, you know, 20, now they're looking into high-end PCs and gaming rigs like that. That's a normal kind of thing. Now, what I didn't mention is 7 and under, right? Because mostly the parents are giving them, you know, the you know, iPhones or the you know, the Androids, or the iPads or whatever, the tablets. And that's the problem. The problem is, you know, 3 to 7 year olds, parents don't want to give them these devices because they don't want to turn them into zombies. And so that's kind of where we're at. So I don't think I'm going to convince your son who's already playing Fortnite or already playing PlayStation 5 or whatever. I'm not trying to convince him that he wants an Amico and that he's going to want the new Intellivision, right? Again, let the Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo fight over those 200 million hardcores. What I'm going to do is I'm going to convince you and your wife, and let's say that you had a 5-year-old, right? So right now we're witnessing something on the planet Earth that's never been seen before. You know, the baby boomers were the number one generation for many years, right? Until about 2 years ago when the millennials took over. Okay. Now, what do we know about millennials? Well, they left home later. They found their careers later. They got their, you know, they got married later, and they're having kids later. Our parents had us when they were in their 20s, right? Early, mid, maybe late 20s. Our generation, even Gen X and millennials, we're having kids in our 30s, right? My friends are in their mid 40s having children at this. I have one friend who's 52 years old. His wife's just pregnant for the first time, right? And she's, you know, younger. She's in her early mid 40s. And so, you know, so And so when I say we're witnessing something we've never experienced, right now, just in the United States alone, there's 21 million households that have kids who are 7 and under in their households. We've never seen that amount of young children ever in the world. Over in Europe, you include the Europe and the UK, another 21 million. And if you include Canada and Mexico, so all of North America and all of Europe, UK, it's 65 million households that have children under the age of 7 right now. That is mind blowing. And again, remember what I said about, Roblox, and they start at 7, but until they get there, a lot of times it's the parents who are helping to guide. They're buying the 4-year-old, the 5-year-old, and the 6-year-old. Now, if your wife has a choice and she's in Walmart, or she's, walking through Walmart or Costco, and has the opportunity to buy a video game system that's all family oriented, that she can play with you and with the young child and with the grandparent, and everybody can have fun together, and it works out of the box. You don't have to buy 3 controllers. The games aren't $60. We're not gonna, blah blah blah. Everything's simple, affordable, and easy. And you see Sesame Street and Mattel Hot Wheels and things like that on there. That's kind of an easy sell for you or your wife to bring into the family. Sure. And so that's so, and we're going for, religious organizations. We're going for, the people who never typically get marketed to for video games, sure. Right? Have you ever seen a Christian video game ad ever? Like never, right? Mm-hmm. Or how about a Latino-based ad? The Latino community, like us Italians, they're very family-oriented, mm-hmm. Right? Roman Catholic, family-oriented, very, the grandparents and the kids, yet no one even makes content. They're not even thinking about making content. It's the same old first-person shooter, or here's the new Madden football game, or whatever, right? Year after year after year. And so that's our approach, is just, there's this huge gaping hole in the video mm-hmm. game industry, and we're about to drive a truck right through it.
All right. So you brought a point that I was curious about too. I mean, obviously the last year has brought massive growth because of COVID and people's idle time to expand the gaming industry. What's your perspective? What do you think will happen post-COVID? Do you think families are going to rebound and say, we've got to get out of the house, we have to put the controllers and things down? So do you have any fear about sort of launching as we're coming out of this period?
I'll tell you why it's great, because that's another great question and very perceptive. But here's where I come back with you and say, you mentioned everyone wants to get out of the house. No one has seen each other. You haven't had dinner with friends and family. You haven't had friend time in a while, right? And so when COVID is all behind us, you're going to start to see groups of people gathering again in households, and they're going to be talking, and they're going to be hugging, and they're going to be playing Intellivision Amico. Okay. Yeah, and so not only is it a friend type of thing, but it really is. A lot of our games are very party based, mm-hmm. fun game, fun stuff to pick up and play, and easy to play. So yeah, I feel that plays into our strength, that people have been isolated from gathering together. Mm-hmm. And our moniker, our motto at Intellivision, if you go to Intellivision.com, you'll see it right there. Intellivision, together again. Mm-hmm. And we had that 3 years ago before, mm-hmm. and it's like, oh geez, is that the best motto to have during COVID? We're like, we don't care. We're riding it, because that's sure. What we're about. We're about getting people together to play games on and being in a casual, fun, easy way. We don't have 5-hour adventures. These are simple pick up and play games, 15, 20 minutes, then you switch to the new one, and this and that,
Okay. So you've been at I mean, you said, several decades in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Go back, like, when did you said 3 years ago you had that tag. I mean, when did you have this idea that maybe Intellivision, or maybe a more family friendly casual game should be more prevalent than
Mhm.
what it is now? Like
So,
what led you on that entrepreneurial
yeah.
opportunity?
Well, the big eye-opening moment for me personally was 15 years ago when my mom called me up and she said, "Hey, what do I'm thinking of buying this Wii. I was just over
Mhm.
your aunt's house and
Mhm.
we were playing this bowling game and we
Sure.
were laughing and, again, the
Yes.
Italians get together, the sisters and the aunts and the uncles and they're drinking wine and I was just blown away. Like, she's 80 years old now, but at the time, 65, 66-year-old mom calling me up, asking me, like, saying that she played a video game and she was thinking about buying one. And I got, my gosh, I guess Nintendo's onto something here, right? So
Mhm.
that was the first time it kind of clicked, because until then, yeah, I just never played games with people who weren't gamers. I
Mhm.
just never played games. I'm just like, oh, they're not into it, right? So my mom getting into the Wii 15 years ago was eye-opening. But I didn't have the idea back then. I was just
Sure.
like, wow, people who don't normally play video games are playing video games.
Mhm.
Then 10 years ago, when the mobile industry exploded, and now again, my mom's calling me up, oh, I'm playing this Angry Birds or Candy Crush, and it's so fun, and this and that. And I'm like, my mom's like a video game addict now.
Mhm.
Like, this is crazy. And then about 4 years ago, when my mom's telling me about Candy Crush and all this stuff, I'm trying to think, how can I play video games with my mom?
Mhm.
Right. And she's on Facebook. So we started playing a little Words with Friends. Right.
Mhm.
That was cool.
Mhm.
Kind of like, because she's in Canada. So it's like, like international Scrabble. Right.
Mhm.
And but we weren't together. We weren't, she would move, then I would move, and then she would move, and then I would move, and we wouldn't even talk. It would just be like, this and that. And so I'm like, gosh. And my dad's here in California with me, and my wife, we've been together 12 years. And she plays video games, but there's no video games that we play together.
Mhm.
And so it's like, when we do an activity together, it's cards, or it's backgammon, or it's a puzzle, or it's, a card game or whatever. It's never video games. And I'm just like, this is insane. Like, this is my career. You're playing video games. My mom's playing video games. My dad can't play video games because he doesn't understand any of it, technology. And I'm in the video game industry for 30 years, worked on the biggest games ever. And I can't play anything. And that's when it started to be like, this is ridiculous, because again, when we were growing up, it was never like that. And so that's when the kind of it was out of necessity of my own, right? So many businesses, so many entrepreneurs, it's the same thing. Like, how come no one's doing this? Well, I guess I'm going to, so that was the catalyst for it.
Okay. That's helpful. I mean, and right into where I wanted to go next, which is, okay, so you see this issue. What's your process for then deciding and determining, okay, is this just my issue, or is there really an opportunity here that I should go pursue? Like, how are you going through because you've done some other entrepreneurial ventures before, and typically we learn from those. So,
Yeah.
What's your process for going, okay, there's actually really a there.
So it's another great, fantastic question that people don't ask me a lot. And I don't want to sound cocky when I say this, but it's the belief in myself, having been successful in doing things that no one has done before in the video game industry and all these things. And like you mentioned earlier, Guinness World Records and all these things. And so it's that confidence. It's the confidence in myself, knowing that I can create things that the masses like, right? So that's the first step. The first step is that I believe in myself. But you're right. I'm not insane. I'm not just going to go start, asking people to invest and asking people for money if it's just a simple one person idea. I started talking to my friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
I started talking to everyone saying, hey, do you remember the Wii? Yeah, we love that thing. Yeah. It's they don't make it anymore. They don't.
And what happened there? Like, why did they abandon? Because it seemed like that had legs.
Yeah, well, the video game industry goes in 7-year cycles. Sure. And so at the end of its 7 years, Nintendo came out with a brand new machine called the Wii U, which in video game terms, and especially for Nintendo, was a huge failure. It only sold 15 million units. Again, that's a huge failure.
Sure.
Oh no, it only generated 1 billion. But that's the video game industry for you. And you look at the reason why it failed, and in my humble opinion, you had the Wii that brought people together and it was simple, and the Wii U was the exact opposite of that, which is you had a screen of this big giant. It was basically like a tablet with control sticks on it, right? And so if you wanted a second one of those, they were about $170. So again, if a family of 4 wanted to, truly, now again, you could buy alternate controllers. They didn't have to have the screens on and this and that, but the games were more single player experiences than the Wii Sports had with bowling and things like that. But Nintendo's whole thing is, and again, I commend them for this, their whole concept is, and they'll tell you this themselves, is that we never do the same thing twice. We're innovators. And they are absolutely the biggest and best innovators the video game industry has ever seen. And they've been consistently doing it for 35 years, right? And hats off. So they proved that people who don't play video games or buy video games will buy a video game. They proved that 15 years ago. Now they're on to the next thing. Gotcha. Now with the Switch, now let's do portable gaming and take it with you and this and that. And so that was an innovation, kind of an innovation. They built off their years, the Nintendo DS and the Game Boy, their handheld systems were their biggest selling systems of all time. The DS was 155 million units. It's the biggest selling video game system ever of all time. And so they combined what they knew in the living room and what they knew portable, and they put it together kind of to combine this hybrid thing. Now, that being said, my mom didn't buy a Nintendo Switch, right? And so there's this big, again.
Have you tried to play one, right? I have one in my household and I barely even try. Yeah.
Right. And how many multiplayer games are there? Oh, well, here's Mario Kart, and they give you a controller that's 4 inches, and you're trying to and it's too small and it cramps your hands. And, and again, I never want to come across as I'm trying to put down.
I mean, you're highlighting there is a
that's the
big
difference.
Market opportunity.
Huge market opportunity, huge difference. And so that was really, kind of the genesis of that all.
Okay. So, Tommy, I've got a bunch of entrepreneurs that listen to the show, and I talk to them every day as well, given what I do day to day. As you think about your journey on this one, you've been doing startups and the gaming industry for a long time. You've had a bunch of different jobs, as I described. So you presumably have all the skills, but to build a company, you need a lot of other people.
Yes.
How do you go about determining, okay, this is where I need to be putting my time and attention. This is where my gaps or my needs are in building a team as you're getting this off the ground?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I mean, I keep saying that, but they are great questions. I'm not just saying that.
This is why I have my own podcast.
There you go. Yeah, you're good at this. You're good at this. I think you can take this somewhere. So to me, passion's the number one thing, because that's what drives me to work harder. Everybody on this planet has $1 million idea, or everyone has a dream, right? And the difference between the people who are successful, and I say successful, I don't say rich, I don't say wealthy, but a lot of times those go hand in hand, but you can be successful because you're happy and you have a beautiful life, and you're, you could be, middle class or lower and still be successful. Make no mistake, right? And so when you talk to successful people, you'll find that they all have confidence in themselves, and they all have passion for what they do. Because I think the difference between somebody who's successful and not successful is that there was somebody out there willing to do it longer and harder and take no for the 1,000th time when you might have gave up on 999, right? Mm-hmm. And so never giving up, always believing in yourself, but I think personality skills really, really come into it. A lot of people say to me, because I, come from a successful, musical career, and I always tell people, I said, look, I'm not the best guitar player or composer out there, but I'm one of the most successful in the video game industry. And that's because people sometimes put too much, and people hate when I say this, by the way, so I'm going to say something controversial and it might piss some people off, but you need to hear it, is that the most talented people always don't get the gig. Sure. The most talented people aren't always the most successful people, right? Mm-hmm. And so people need to stop focusing 100% on the creative and the talent aspect. But what if you were to split 50-50 of your time and do the other most important thing, which people sometimes, the successful people know, and the ones still trying to get there may not: networking. Networking and improving your own self-help and self-abilities, whether it's through, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, or how to get people to fall in love with you, or The Secret, positive mental attitude, mm-hmm. The art of attraction. Read all of it, folks, because it's 100% true. If you are in the mindset of great things are going to happen to me, I know I'm going to get to the top of the mountain. I might not know how I'm going to get there and when I'm going to get there, but son of a gun, I'm going to be at the top of it, and nothing is going to stop me. And if you truly believe that, and you truly will, you will be up there, my friends. It's a guaranteed fact. I'm sorry, it is. And I approach every single day of my life. Of course, gratitude. I have vision boards. I do all that stuff. I visualize success, all of that stuff that they teach you and train you in all those great self-help videos, right? And books mm-hmm. and things. And it works, and it's great, and it keeps you positive, and mm-hmm. But I always think about my favorite movie of all time and my favorite scene of my favorite movie, which is Rocky. Okay, again, East Coast Italian. How am I going to grew up in the 70s? How am I going to not love Rocky, exactly. Right? But I look at that the 14th round. Apollo Creed finally knocks Rocky down for what he feels is the final time, right? Mm-hmm. And Mickey, his trainer, who's been with him through thick and thin, is telling him, "Kid, stay down, kid, stay down, stay down." The crowd's going crazy. Apollo's got his hands in the air as he turns his back to Rocky. And Adrian comes out of the back because she couldn't watch the fight, but she hears this commotion. And there she sees Rocky on the ground, and she's in tears, and she has to look away in pain. And what's Rocky doing? Rocky doesn't care. He is getting up. You can knock him down. It doesn't matter. He gets up. And my favorite scene ever is when Apollo turns around, because he hears the crowd cheering. He turns around, and there's Rocky standing there still. And he's going, "Come on, come on." And he just puts his hands on his hips, Apollo, and he just goes like this: "I cannot believe this guy," right? And I think about that, and I'll watch that every couple times a week. I think about that scene every single day of my life. no matter what you throw at me, I don't care if it's COVID, it's riots. What do you got? Murder hornets? What else you got? Locusts? Throw them at me. Worst economy ever in 100 years. Worst unemployment. No VCs spending money on anything. What else you got for me? Bring it on. I don't care. I'm going to win. I will be at the top of that mountain. And I know that there's going to be snow and there's going to be sleet and there's going to be rain and there's going to be rocks falling down at me. And I'll get to certain spots where I can't get around. So I'm going to have to figure out a way. There's going to be people from below trying to drag me down by my heels. I'm going to be at the top of that mountain. And then when you get to the top of that mountain the first time, that's why it's so important to set, even if there's small goals, achievable goals, set those. Get the confidence that, you know what, I did that. I didn't give up and I did this small thing. Because when you get to the top of that mountain, now it's just a matter of looking around and saying, picking the next mountain you want to start to climb. And that's how I've done my entire career. Now, this mountain's the biggest mountain I've climbed. I don't care. I don't guess, I'm going to get to the top. It doesn't matter. So that's the thing that I would say to other entrepreneurs is, never give up, always have confidence in yourself, and you have to have the right team of people around you. I can't tell you how many times we have about 60 full-time employees now, and I would rather hire somebody with passion than somebody that has more experience. I'll hire somebody with less experience and passion over the person that has all the experience, but I can't get a good read on, Passion is the most important thing for me, and believing in what I believe in, the vision of the machine. If I see them excited as I am about it, if they're just going in and it's just another 6-figure job to them, sure, I'm not interested. I'm really not. I don't care. I'll wait around for the person who is, because that's what drives people more than anyone. And I know sometimes as entrepreneurs and we're trying to fill spots, it's like, man, I really need this spot. And okay, this person has 20 years experience. Okay, they're perfect on paper or whatever. I'm sorry, that doesn't, in this world, I don't buy it, and what you'll find is if, so we're very cautious about bringing people in that could affect our amazing culture that we create, because all of us truly do feel like a family. It's like a band. If you got that one bass player who just doesn't care about the rest of you and is only doing it for fun and doesn't really care if the band's going to make it or not, then, let's call him the Peter Best, the drummer, we'll say, then get a Ringo, and that's not fair to Peter Best, but anyway, it's the first thing that popped in, but that's what I'm talking about is that, getting the right team of people around you, the team of friends, the team of family, the people who you want to be in the foxhole with when the shit goes down. You want to trust the people standing and sitting and kneeling next to you and with you, and I never say that people work for me. People don't work for me at Intellivision. They work with me at Intellivision.
Yeah, that's so, Tommy, it's so good. I don't even know how to do anything other than end it there. I mean, amazing. Thank you so much for joining me, for sharing this, incredible story. There's so much wisdom and perspective in those thoughts as well. I'm super excited. I can very confidently tell you there will be an Amico in my house, and awesome. I will be an Intellivision customer because I want to bring it back to my family. Yeah. I'm super excited for the journey ahead for you and having it in my house, and let's definitely stay in touch, and great to have you here in Orange County. So thanks again.
I appreciate it, Kerry. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Operate Podcast. If you like this conversation, as a favor to me, you can rate us, review us, or subscribe, or tell your friends. You can also reach out to us on Twitter at Operate Podcast. Until next week, get out there and operate.